Hi, and welcome back to Hope Follows. I'm Julie Kensler, your host and friend along the journey of life with you. Hope Follows is where we talk about the hard things people face in life, just like you and me, but we don't stop there. We talk about the hope that follows those. Does it mean that the trouble ever went away? No, because it's always part of us, but it's how God grows us and what he does through those hard times. That's where we like to see the Hope Follows story. And today I have a very special new friend. I'm very excited that she's my friend now. Her name is Carey McClure, and I'll tell you a little bit about her in just a moment. Don't forget, you can watch Hope Follows episodes. They come out the second and fourth Mondays of every month, 12 months every year so far. Okay. But you can also go to hopefollows.com to see previous episodes from when I was with the Holy Spirit Broadcasting Network. We have so many topics. They're not just topics, though, friend. They're people's lives and the stories they've shared. If you know of someone who would be so kind and gracious to share their hard story and Hope Follows story, please send them my way. juliekensler@gmail.com. You can find all that information on hopefollows.com. Well, let's get started. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Carrie, okay? Because that's really important. She is the founder and executive director of Collegiate Crossings. It is a Colorado-based nonprofit dedicated to helping low-income first generation and foster youth achieve their post-secondary education and career goals. Since founding the organization in 2012, Carrie has been passionate about removing barriers to higher education by providing personalized college planning, financial aid guidance, scholarship assistance, career exploration, and mentoring. Oh, I love this, especially because as a success coach on my side job for Arizona State University, I appreciate what she does so much because having a college degree changes so much in a person's life, family, and community. Under Carrie's leadership, Collegiate Crossings has served 1,429 students, with 99.86% being accepted into a college or post-secondary program. They've earned more than $45 million in scholarships. A nationally trained college counselor, Carrie holds a bachelor's degree in human development and family studies, and a certificate in fundraising management, and a certificate in college counseling. Wow, she is driven by a deep commitment to educational equality. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you Carey McClure.
Thank you. Quite the introduction. I'm feeling like I'm a big deal.
You are. Oh my goodness. There's so much beautiful commitment you have given to that whole field. And if this wasn't even one of the questions I asked in the beginning, but just to kind of tee us into talking about your personal life, what do you see as, we're both in higher education. What do you see as the biggest outcome and benefit of students who have gone through the program and in their careers? What is maybe a story you could share, a person you remember, of just something so beautiful that never would have been their lives that way if they didn't have this education and opportunity with your scholarships and programs?
Well, I mean, we started really with first gen and low income. We now recently added foster kids, but I will tell you, one of the first kids that we did, she had already decided in early middle school that this isn't an option for me. Her parents had gotten pregnant when they were teenagers. They had immigrated from Mexico, and they were legal citizens and all those kind of things, but they both worked on a dairy farm, and she had just been like, it's not even an option for me, right? So she happened to have a middle school counselor that just took her under her wing and happened to know about us through another community program. And we walked with her in ninth, 10th, and 11th grade and, prepared her so she had a resume, so she had, all the things she needed, and then actually went to Colorado State and on a first generation scholarship, got the Whitney Lee scholarship, which I'm sure we'll touch on later in honor of our daughter. But she was the first one ever. And now her brother is going to college this fall, and then the next one we're starting to work with. They're still in middle school, but it's now third generation, right? So that's pretty cool. So to go from, immigrant running a dairy farm to, barely making it, to she's now going to work in this. She graduated about a year ago, and she's now going to work in the school to teach kids just like what she did. And I think long term would like to be a counselor. She's starting as like a para and then a teacher, looking at some teaching jobs. But her life goal is to really be a counselor and go in and change the lives like hers was.
Oh. And we know how that makes such an impact on people's families and their communities. I mean, there's just so many studies on that. So thank you for all that you're doing. Carrie, you are family means so much to you.
Obviously, when you lose a child like we did, family becomes even more important, and everything you realize, all the things that you worried about in life are really not a big deal. Like choose your battle, right?
Yeah.
So family is my number one priority, and nothing comes before it.
When you have a loss, it really just shakes you and everything just turns upside down. And you're right, that becomes the priority. And Carrie's going to be sharing a little more about her experience of losing her daughter and how she was able to work through those early years. You have inspirational quotes that you put on your social media on Instagram. And I love the tag, love hard, no regrets.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us about that and what inspired that?
Well, one of the things, if you knew Whitney, Whitney was, I mean, she was a firecracker, and she would be like, I'm pretty sure she's up in heaven going, you will remember me, and if you don't. So one of the things I kind of decided early on was to do two things. One was to share my grief journey and help people understand grief,
Mhm,
and that it's okay, and the things to do and not to do. But
mhm,
the other was to do an inspirational daily quote. And when I talk about love hard, I think to love hard means loving people without holding back, right? It means saying I love you. It means forgiving quickly. It means encouraging. It means being fully present. And by no regrets, obviously, I know too many people that when a loved one passes or a relationship ends, they have all this regret. And I remember, like, one of the things with Whitney is we really I didn't have any regrets, and she knew she was loved, and I knew she loved me. And it's just funny, 2 weeks before she died, we had a major blowout. I remember, like, and Whitney was the type of person that if she wasn't sorry, she wasn't going to apologize. She's like, I'm not going to say I'm sorry if I'm not sorry. And I used to be like, oh, okay then. But I remember, like, we couldn't be mad very long. And then, like,
mhm.
she died 2 weeks later. And I think to myself often, like, if that would have been left, because it was a pretty intense
Oh,
argument, like, I would have had some regrets, right?
mhm.
And
Yep.
so I've been very intentional about, like, if I'm having an issue with someone or they're having an issue with me, like, I'm going to do all that I can to resolve it. I'm going to love hard. And I think that's what I'm called to do anyway. But I see too many people that have regrets. And one of the things that two of my friends said to me right after Whitney died. They both had a sibling that passed away when around the same age as my girls. And I remember them saying, we basically lost our sibling and our parents the same day
Mm.
because their parents never dealt with grief and their parent, or their parents, like, it was so difficult, and that later they had some regrets, right? And so I was like, well, I'm going to have to buckle up because I have two other kids, right?
Yeah,
And it's not
right.
fair. It's not fair to them that I check out. And so when we talk about loving hard, that means like it's going to be hard. And that means loving hard during the good and loving hard during the bad, which is even harder, especially when you're in grief.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely want to talk about that again a little bit later on how you manage that because you say you really tried to not stay stuck, but I'm sure you had moments of that. So first, if you could share in 2018, Whitney was 26 or 27?
28, you can see the
28.
28 behind us. It was
Oh,
we make fun of it. It's just funny because Whitney was all about celebrations and make a big deal, and for years we heard about her golden birthday, which I didn't even know what that was until she explained it. Like, you turned 28 and her birthday was June
oh yeah.
28th, right?
I know
So
exactly what that is. Mhm.
right, so she died on August 20th. So the prior June, a couple months prior to that, was her quote golden birthday. And she had like a whole full on photo shoot. I mean, we were making so much fun of her. I can't even tell you. Like, she had a birthday cake made, her and her husband. She had a big cake, the whole 9 yards, and they went and got like had a photo shoot, and like I think she got 30 mosquito bites while she was doing and we literally were unmerciful crucifying her
Oh no.
about this birth. And you know what, those photos now are gold.
Oh,
Like, they are the golden birthday
yeah.
because those are the last photos we have with her.
Yeah.
and
Wow. Well,
and
hey,
so yeah, so but yeah, when she had a surgery and to get her second set of wisdom teeth out, which I didn't even know you had two sets of wisdom teeth. But she went in for a surgery, and then a week later, E. coli hit her body, and it took her like that. Like,
and
who do you know died of E. coli? No one except my child.
so, I mean, what are the statistics of that?
Well, it's interesting. They're not that when she passed, we actually had an autopsy done because we wanted to make sure, that obviously there wasn't something with our other children, but
Yeah.
it went all the way up to the CDC, and they did a full investigation because they had seen some sort of an uptick, and I don't know what the numbers are, but it's very rare that a young person like her age dies of an E. coli. And basically, the E. coli hit her body and shut down everything and went to sepsis, and she then died of pneumonia. Um, but yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it was
Yeah.
very, very quick and literal shock, like shock.
So how long was this? Okay. So she goes in for her
So she
second.
died actually at her apartment, and her husband tried to revive her, which he did. But then, so that was like at 4 in the morning, and she passed by noon. So it wasn't even 8 hours.
So was she ill at
No,
her
well, no, she had.
apartment?
I mean, she was still healing from the surgery, but
Ah,
she wasn't. She was like, we called the doctor that did the tonsils, and he's like, he was literally shocked. So no, I mean, she didn't feel well, but she had just had surgery, right?
right. The oral
So
surgery.
yeah, so we didn't think, and God love her, but Whitney might have been a little dramatic, and she might have gotten that from her mom. Let's just say, but so we just kind of were like, But I remember when Jeff called. Jeff is her husband, and
Okay.
I remember vividly because I woke up my husband, and he said, Jeff said she's not breathing very well, which apparently she hadn't been breathing, and they revived her. But I remember driving to the hospital, and the Lord telling me this isn't going to end well.
Oh,
And
Carrie.
I don't feel like, I'm not one of those people where I feel like the Lord, I mean, he speaks to me, but it's not in that kind of.
Hmm.
And when we got to the hospital, our middle daughter actually was working at the hospital that she died at. So she's able to go into the system, which she's probably not supposed to, but and see exactly what's wrong. And
Yeah.
then it was our youngest daughter's second day of first year teaching. So we had to call her principal, and he drove her as fast as he could to the hospital. And as Casey walked in, she coded. Yeah, it was one of
Oh,
those, it's one of those things like you see in the movies and you go, like, this can't be true.
yeah. Hmm.
Like, I mean, I'm sure you feel that way with your story, right? Like you're like, what? Like, I just woke up and yeah. So
Yeah. And even as you're hearing God say this isn't going to end well, why do you think he was sharing that with you? Why do you think he was preparing you?
I don't know. I've never figured that out. I
Mhm.
think he just wanted. If I step back, I think it was basically the Lord saying, "This isn't going to end well, but I'm going to be there. So
Oh,
you will get through this, and I will provide you a community." I mean, I'm not kidding you. Within a half an hour, there were probably 20 to 30 people there at the hospital. I mean,
mm.
it was mind blowing.
I mean, that makes such a difference having a community
Yeah,
surrounding you. It carries you.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know, and I've thought about that often, and I think it was a preparation. Like,
Mhm.
you're gonna be okay. Now, it took a while to be okay, and I
Yeah.
don't know if I don't think you ever, and
Yeah.
I think you can speak to this. I don't think you ever get over the grief, right?
No. Mm-mm.
I think you learn to incorporate it in your life, and you learn to live with it. And you, again, you
Yeah.
realize what's important and all those things. But when people are like, "Are you over it yet?"
Oh,
No. I'm not. I'm never going to be over losing Whitney. Now, is it easier than it was almost 8 years ago? Yes.
mhm.
But if someone said, if I had a choice, would I choose? She had all kinds of medical problems like her whole life. She had every autoimmune disease you can imagine. She had shingles 3 times. I mean, you name it, she had it. And so I think her body, when the E. coli hit, it just couldn't
Oh,
fight it, right? Like, and her system was already down.
right. Already compromised.
Right, her system was already compromised. So, but I remember, our attorney actually did all the talking to the CDC because she was like, "This is too emotional," right? Like,
Yeah.
but I remember her saying, like, even they were completely stunned, and they actually thought maybe it was from like some ground beef, or I mean, they did a
Oh,
whole huge study and investigation. Was it from the hospital? And they think it was just something was in her body and it got triggered. And so I think that was, even like, I think it might have been easier if it was actually something, right?
yeah. When
Like,
it's unresolved, that
right,
does
like,
make it
yeah.
difficult.
And
Hmm.
then people, she was a little overweight, and so people were like, "Well, do you think she would have lived if she wouldn't have been
Oh,
overweight?" And did she, and people would say, "Did she commit suicide?" And I'm like, "Well, no. Are you sure?" Pretty sure, because I was there. So that's why I decided to do the quotes and to do the teaching on grief, because I'm like, people, you can't say those things. And
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure I've said dumb things, right? Like, and I mean, so I just decided I'm gonna, and and I've had a lot of people really compliment me for, I mean, my Fridays, like tomorrow is Fun Friday, so
Mhm.
Fridays are always funny quotes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I try to make,
can you share your Instagram?
yeah, it's Carrie L. Mick,
And I'll put that in here.
CareYLMC at
Yeah.
Instagram, I guess. But yeah, and you can find me on Facebook too. But yeah, the Fridays are pretty funny. I mean, it's good when your friends start sending you the fun Friday quotes. They're like, "Oh, I got a good one for you."
Oh,
Yeah.
they're helping with content creation.
Yes, yes, yes. If anybody wants to send me any content, I'd love it.
Okay, good.
So I try to, when I post a quote, I try to think like, what would Whitney say?
Yeah. Mhm.
And Whitney was not one to like, one of her favorite things she used to say to me is, I'm not going to light myself on fire to keep someone warm.
Oh.
I was like, all right then. And then she'd also say, like, never underestimate a woman who's done, and I'm done.
Ah, hey, have you thought about writing a book with some
That's funny. You're
quotes?
about the 96th person that has asked me that.
Well, that's how I ended up writing my book because of
Yeah.
my blogs. And then I had people say, you should just put this into a book.
I know. And your book, it is so good.
Oh, thank
It is
you.
so, like, so good. Yeah. So if you haven't bought Hope Follows book, you need to buy it because it will give you huge inspiration. And I am
Oh,
not getting paid to say that.
yeah, we're both not getting paid here.
Yeah, we're not.
But if
No,
you
we're
buy the
not.
book,
But
I might get a few dollars.
yeah, exactly. And by the time you pay the taxes, you'll probably lose money.
Yeah. So every 50 cents matters, everybody.
Yes,
Go buy the
exactly.
book.
Exactly.
Okay. So, Carrie, I love what your husband wrote in Just
Yes.
Show Up. And that was inspired out of um, helping people know how to respond.
Right.
So can you share a little, and I would love to, we'll meet again. We're going to meet in person and do a show, another episode together with your husband. But what is it that comforted you the most? What did people say or do in your time of grief?
Well, when my husband wrote Just Show Up, his whole premise of the book was, you know what? People don't need the words. People don't I mean we love the words, right? But what are you going to say? I'm sorry? I mean, and that's really all you can say, right? I'm sorry, I'm here, but when someone
I'm here.
shows up, right? And that showing up can mean I'm going to sit here, I'm going to let you cry, I'm going to clean your house, I'm going to set up a meal train, and for me what was most important is people just letting me cry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Honestly,
Good.
like nothing gives me more joy then and now is when someone tells me a Whitney story or talks about Whitney. And people are so afraid to talk
Mhm.
about the person that died. Well, I don't want to make you sad. No, you're not making me sad. Right? Like because because now all I have is her memory, right? So when you forget her, right, that she's not, then you're forgetting a huge piece of my life. So for
And
me
when,
a lot
yeah.
of it was showing up, like just showing up and talking to me about Whitney. I'll never forget one of her speech, and she helped start a speech and debate team at her high school. And she had two of the best coaches. I just loved them. And I remember Courtney sending me the letter of rec and some stuff that Whitney wrote after she passed. And I'm telling you, like,
Oh,
it was so, I still have it,
yeah.
right? It was so meaningful. Like, and that, I mean, that was, but I was like, I would have never thought of that, right?
Mhm.
And I my brother the other day, he found a whole bunch of pictures from when Whitney was
Oh,
young, and he put them in this big container, and I was like, awesome. And then I've had people send me pictures of when she was little. And so I think, showing, and of course showing up looks different to everybody. I will never forget when my dad passed and his best friend came up to me and said, "I just want you to know how deeply your dad loved you."
Oh, so that would be something that would really
Right.
bless
So
your
when people
husband.
would tell Andy what a great dad he was, or how
Oh,
amazing Whitney
mm,
was, or, gifts and talents that obviously, because she was her daddy is a big sports fanatic. So she didn't play sports, but she knew every stat. I mean, it was ridiculous. I was like, the two of them would go, and I would be like, I don't care. I probably had three besties that were literally, I mean, I probably would not be here on earth had they not showed up.
mm. That
Um, and
friends,
and I and
friends
I'll be
watching.
completely
Yes,
honest.
know that.
And I remember one of my friends, literally, I was having, it was a bad day, and she lived about an hour and a half away, and she drove all the way down from where she lived to my house, and all of a sudden the doorbell rings, and she's at my door, right? And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me, right? And
Mhm.
and one of the things I think that was helpful is asking, because people say, just call me if you need something. Well, I'm not going to call you, right? Like, I'm not going to call you because, first of all, I'm not emotionally want to talk on the phone. Second of all, I don't even know what I need.
Mhm.
And it varies per day. So I think, asking that person, what do you need? Can I clean your house? Can I bring a meal? You know, or just continually checking in. I'm sure you
Right.
felt this way when your sister passed. Like, people move on, right? Like, they move on with
Mhm.
their lives and they don't remember. And not
Mhm.
that they need to, but, remembering the big days, like when Whitney's birthday is 28, because it was the golden birthday, when people text me on that, or, when they remember the date that she passed, or,
Yes.
like,
Oh, that does mean so much when
it
somebody
means so,
does
and
that.
you think it's so silly, like, eight
Yeah.
years later. Well, no, I have a dear, dear friend that lost a husband. I think it's been 10 years, maybe 12 years. And I will tell you, when I remember, it means something to her. So I
Mhm.
actually write the date in
Yes.
my notebook, like, contact Susan, right? Like, and yeah,
In your calendar or planner. So,
yep,
friend watching, we want
yep.
to make sure that there are ways that you can love on people, the people in your lives when they lose a loved one. Don't withdraw. That's
Mm,
the worst, is withdrawing. And I do remember that, having some friends, when I lost my dad suddenly. I was 16, he was 46. And I remember friends didn't really reach out to me. Some still did. And oh, I just needed them so badly.
yep.
And
And
then when
people just, they don't know what to do. And
they
and let's
don't,
be honest,
right?
it's uncomfortable. My whole thing
They're
is
young.
buckle up. If you think it's uncomfortable for you, imagine how the person that's
Yeah.
grieving feels,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Well, that's what I want to do here and what we've shared is just an awareness. Thank you for sharing your story of Whitney. I want to close with a couple more questions, but I just appreciate you sharing this and the hard parts and the painful parts, and how people were able to help you, how you were able to work through that grief recovery, I call it. You're right. We don't ever get over it. It's not a sickness. It's not the
Mm,
flu. This
no.
is something that has permanently changed our lives forever. And we have to learn how to walk with a limp, with a new stride. And I also remember, Carrie, when I was at church for the first time. I've shared this
Ugh.
before, after losing Tammy, and just having my friend near me. My husband was there too, but my friend Vicky just holding on to my hand. I needed it. I felt like I couldn't even breathe or stand. And I know people who think that we shouldn't be thinking of them all the time. But how dreadful to not keep them in our daily lives and memory. What do
I
you
would
think
I
about this?
I would agree. And I want her legacy, again, when you lose someone, like you've lost your father and you lost your sister, all you have left is their memory. You've lost the whole future. They talk,
Yeah.
we talk about all this. People don't think about all the secondary losses, right? The
Yes.
future dates, the weddings, the grandchildren,
Yeah.
jobs, the careers, the holidays, you know. And so to be able to, you know, we've created a scholarship in her name, and to be able to bless first gen low income students with an opportunity to fund what they couldn't afford is a way of, you know, and she worked for us, and she also was in education. And so that's so cool,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, it's so meaningful forever. I mean, hope follows this whole movement, this whole what ministry or whatever we want to call it. This is all because of losing Tammy, and hope followed that tragic, horrible day and the days that followed, the court case, then
Yeah,
losing
yeah,
her husband, taking his life two
yeah.
years after. But
I can't imagine, and you can't imagine. But I think, you know, I remember a friend also saying you have a choice to make. You can be bitter or better. You can
yeah, I
let
like
God use
that.
it. Now, did me and I mean, I always say I had to come into Jesus with Jesus about
Hmm.
it.
Yeah. Hmm.
But you know, I think I'm never okay. Even if I knew the reason, let's say someone or the Lord said this is the reason, and
Oh,
right, that's not going to make a difference, right?
yeah,
Like the reason is not going to make a difference. So, you
that's
know,
good.
I mean, but it, you know, I where I am now and where I was,
Hmm.
you know, the first 2 years, and I'm sure you feel the same way, were pretty rough. And I'm just
Hmm.
very, I mean, if I can recommend one thing, like do not be afraid of grief counseling, do not be afraid of counseling
Hmm.
at all.
Yeah.
Like my counselor is a rock star, and I don't know, I mean, I still go biweekly. And I, you know, now it's not so much about Whitney. Now it's about Carrie. These are patterns that you've had for a long time. You know, and I'll be honest, there's nothing wrong with a little antidepressant meds. Me and
Oh.
Lexapro are very good friends, and and it just takes off the edge. But
Mhm.
again, we create so much stigma about that, and I'm like, what? That gives me hope to get up every day, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm on a teeny tiny dose, but it just takes off the edge.
Yeah, I have episodes with my doctor, my family doctor, and she's definitely talked about that. How your mental health is so important, and if we need to give you some kind of medication, then let's do it. You know, let's not hold back. Um, you know, seeing a counselor. Yeah, you've shared so many great things, and so much hope here, Carrie. Can you tell everybody about the jersey behind you?
Oh, the Whitney jersey. So
Yes.
again, so okay, sorry. Let me get you. There's
Yeah, we can
actually
see it.
two. There's the
Oh,
Bronco one. Go
right.
Broncos. I'm just gonna say that's where diehard
Oh,
Broncos. So our
the Bears.
again, my husband is a diehard sports guy, and as was Whitney. So when she passed, our friends, the Colangelos used to own the Arizona Diamondbacks. So Whitney and Andy and our whole family's been big Arizona Diamondback fans for years. And then one of our friends, Mike Butcher, was the pitching coach. So as an honor to Whitney, he had that jersey created, and it's actually a Diamondback jersey with her name and with her number to
Oh,
put on our wall, and presented it to our family at a Rockies Diamondback game. It's super meaningful. And then the Bronco jersey with the 28 too. My kids got the Christmas after Whitney died, and you know, so
yeah,
you know,
that's
I think for
awesome.
him, he spends a lot of his time up here, so that's really meaningful to him.
Hmm.
And between those things and the scholarship, those are really meaningful to us. So
Yeah,
that's what I've kind of done when someone's lost someone, is just like, what do you need? What do you need me just to come sit and say nothing, which is awkward, but
yeah. But sometimes I had a friend do that for me. We went and sat by a pool at a resort, and I think I sat and cried and talked and cried and talked, and she just loved on me, and that meant so much. You know, it's and I've even looked back at different cards that people have written, and
yeah.
And even writings that I've saved so many cards she sent me, and just pictures. And it is very healing to me repeatedly to go through these things. I don't want people to think, oh, that's weird if I want to look back at things. No, because that's part of you, and it's nice to just feel it again.
Yeah, and one of the coolest things that happened, so two of my really, really good friends, they're both named Julie, actually. Um, they both came to the service and they both had to fly in from out of town, but they created we now have a text that started back 8 years ago called the Care Bears. So they're caring for me. And now it's gone on for 8 years and we text silly stuff and well, how can I pray for you? But that all started the
Mm,
Care Bears, and for Carrie and the Care Bears started
yeah,
because they were like, we want to make sure that, you are not forgotten and Whitney's not forgotten. And
yeah.
that means so much to me still now,
Hmm.
right? And it's simple, like, hey, how can I pray for you? Or they'll send me a funny reel or something like that. But how easy is that? And
Hmm.
and so
Yeah,
many times we don't even take the time to do something like that, right?
yeah. No, that's so true. And I mean, for missing Tammy and remembering her. Anytime I see a horse, I love horses so much anyway, but now it's even more so special because that was her passion. And
Right, right.
yeah, and these are just special ways for us to remember our loved ones. And Carrie, thank you again for being on the show.
Well,
And
thank you for having me and
sharing.
thank you for the work you're doing. And again, if
Yes.
you guys need to watch her show and her podcast and her book because it's what I loved most about your book was at the end of each chapter the challenge, like
Mm.
hope is this, hope is, and I was like, "Ooh, I hadn't thought about that. That's a great idea."
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, hold on. Okay, I have it right here. Thank you for saying that, Carrie. I really appreciate it. I have my big idea jar.
Oh, yes, I love the big idea jar.
Okay. I think I might have had that one before.
Okay, we're not judging. Because
Uh,
remember, I already ruined part of the video. So there
no,
you
we
go.
didn't. This is so fun. Okay. Um, invite someone to church with you and to lunch afterwards. I think I may have had that one another time, but I think that is still really important to mention. Invite someone to church with you, and why
And
not?
and you should add to that and pay. Invite them to
Oh,
church, take them to lunch, and pay. Then that'll be a whole home run.
oh, I love baseball. Go Cubs. Oh,
Yeah.
um, but anyway, that's a good one. Okay, so you know what? Money can bless people. We need to be more free and not hold on to it like this. I love how
Totally.
you said that.
Well, and that's one of the things like with Love Hard that I'm like, you guys, you're
Uh,
not taking any of your money with you.
yeah, that's
Like I
good.
always tell I always tell my kids literally it's all the time. Like we can replace money, we can't replace people.
Hmm.
So, you know what? And it's not my money, it's God's money. And but people are so, especially in this economy, right? But I mean, I am going to win the lottery. I always tell my friend,
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's my goal. I get usually no numbers, but I've told the Lord, do you know how many people I could bless?
Oh,
And he's like, and do you know then you wouldn't have to trust me?
well, thank you again, Carrie, and
Thank
God bless
you.
you.
Okay. Take care.
Yes.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye. Thank you. Friends, this has been such a great experience for us to have Carrie joining this show today. Remember that you can watch Hope Follows on YouTube the second and fourth Mondays of every month. HopeFollows.com for more information. And I'm going to finish with prayer. Thank you, God, for this time, for us to learn and embrace how we can best support those who lose loved ones. Lord God, we just want to remember to love hard, have no regrets. And I pray for our friend watching who might be in depths of sadness and grief of their own. And I pray for people to come and surround them and love on them, Lord. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Hope follows. Over and out.
Heart beats fast, colors and promises. How to be brave? How can I love when I'm afraid to fall? But watching you stand